mentioned earlier that there were two Marmite words in pain management. One is pacing, the other one is acceptance. And the problem with acceptance is that it's really important, but it's often misunderstood. Acceptance basically means coming to terms with change, and the reality for most people with chronic pain is that they've experienced a substantial change in their lives. And that substantial change could have all sorts of implications. It could mean you've lost your job. It could mean you can't do the sports or the hobbies that you used to enjoy. It could mean that you just have a different perception of yourself. And all of these things obviously have an emotional impact on somebody. And that emotional impact could range from anger, guilt, despair, all sorts of things. And these are described in a model that I often find useful to share in the groups, which is the model of change that was developed by a lady called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It's worth looking at, but basically it's the idea that with any major change in life, we have an emotional response to it that, well, in her model, it goes, it's DABDA. So it goes denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And the idea is that it's not a strict model, and she didn't mean it like that, but it does give us a structure that we can work with. And it's basically saying, look, any emotional response that you have after a change is okay. And some of these things will take time to burn off. The key thing is not to get stuck forever and to seek help and to find ways of moving through these different stages. So with chronic pain, for instance, the first stage, denial, is going to be, that's not happened to me, that's not fair, I'm just going to carry on regardless. And that's where it ties in with the importance of pacing. Anger is a big one. A lot of people are angry about just their condition, but also there can be anger that can kick off in all directions. A lot of people are angry about what's happened to them medically. A lot of people will say, why me? Quite understandably. And anger is a big one that's often helped when they meet other people who have experienced similar things. And that's where the group thing is very important. Being believed and being with other people is a huge help with dealing with all these kinds of emotions. Depression is a big thing again. Depression is misunderstood again. Some people have what we call clinical depression, but a lot of people have low mood and withdraw from the world. That's a very common thing. Often if you withdraw, your world shrinks and then everything becomes more difficult. So it's important to move through all these stages and get the help you can, maybe to talk about things. And that's where the groups help again. It's a safe place to talk. Bargaining is where you start to look at, well, if I don't do something about this, then where will I be? Or if I keep doing this, then perhaps I'll only get worse. So bargaining is a very important stage, and then acceptance is kind of what follows on from that. But acceptance it's kind of worth saying, it's not perhaps what you think it is. And obviously if you're at the early stages, acceptance is going to seem impossible, because some people will say, well, how can I accept that I'm only going to ever get worse? And that could be the view from the beginning of the process. But when you've got things to do, when you realize you're not alone, when there are techniques that you can apply, when you can maybe pace and not realize you have to do everything you used to do, then the future could start to seem different. And might be more acceptable to you. But acceptance doesn't mean giving up and giving in. That's what a lot of people think it means. Acceptance means coming to terms with change. So like all big changes in life, when that big change has happened, it doesn't mean that you're suddenly happy that it's all happened. It might be that you'll always regret whatever's happened. If you think about losing a loved one, it's not something that you're ever completely over, but it's something you need to integrate into your life so you can get on with your life without that change hanging over your life like a big shadow.